and helping produce it, hopefully.
Hopefully.
Okay.
May God give me strength and determination to accomplish it.
Amen. Amen. Ladies and gentlemen, you can find it soon on Amazon. Very soon. All right. Good afternoon, everybody. Good evening. It's so late. So it's awesome. I love this. I love it. Love it. Love it. Yeah, it is evening. All right. Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to part 2 of Living Jewishly. This is the Parsha review, and we are in Parsha's Behar. Behar is the second to last portion in the book of Leviticus, and it is the 9th portion in the book of Leviticus, the 32nd portion since the beginning of the Torah. Yes, sir?
Is this a double portion?
Not this year. It's interesting. It really should be. Well, it should be. Right, but it should be for a different reason, because in Israel, they're reading next week's Torah portion already. They're ahead since Pesach. And we're only going to catch up in about another 3 months. We're going to catch up.
What does Behar mean?
Behar means at the mountain.
Because I know people with that last name.
Right. They're still at the mountain.
They never came home.
Like that one, right? Okay, good. So,
You mean like Joy Baby?
is she Jewish? She's probably Jewish, no? Okay, either way, it's usually a Sephardic name. Yes, it's usually a Sephardic name, and it usually it refers to, at least here, it refers to at Mount Sinai. The Jewish people are standing at the foot of Mount Sinai, and they're going to learn about the laws of Shemitah. We'll see in a minute. And there's a famous question. Famous question. We'll see it in a minute. But either way, there are 57 verses in this week's Parsha, 737 words, and 2,817 letters. Why do we care how many letters? Because there's no extra letter. Great. Excellent. Beautiful. If the only thing you learn at the end of this year is that there's no extra letter in the Torah, it was worth it, I promise. Okay, so let's see how the Parsha begins, and you'll see that it's really fascinating. Vayedaber Hashem al Moshe behar Sinai le'emor. And Hashem spoke to Moses at Mount Sinai, saying, tell the Jewish people, Daber al bnei Israel, v'amarta aleim, and you shall say to them, Kisavol arts, when you arrive at the land of Israel, Asher ani nosin lochem, which I am giving to you, Vishav sa'aretz Shabbos laHashem, rest shall the land, a Sabbath rest for Hashem. That's the Sabbath, sabbatical. During the 6 years you shall sow your field, and during the 6 years you shall prune your vineyards, and you shall gather in its crops. And in the 7th year, Shabbos Shabboson, a complete rest. There shall be for the land, Shabbos laHashem, a Shabbos rest for Hashem. Sod cholos Yisra, you shall not sow your field, and do not prune your vineyards. So what's the obvious question? What did the first verse say? First verse in this week's portion that we just read. And Hashem said to Moses at Mount Sinai, saying, why are you telling me about Shemitah in the land of Israel, which is going to be in 40 years from now at Mount Sinai? Right? It's irrelevant. It's not relevant right now. It's going to be relevant when you get to the land of Israel in 40 years. So this is a question Rashi over here starts. This is Rashi's question. The first second. Ma inyan Shemitah etzel Har Sinai. What is the topic of Shemitah, of sabbatical year, doing at Mount Sinai? What does it need to tell us? So what's your answer? Let me hear. It is because we need to know that God said it. Okay, that's true. But why? I mean, yes.
Because the concept of Shabbat is related to the concept of God owning everything and permitting us to do stuff. Now, if we're going to have this relationship with God at Sinai, he wants to make sure that the most important thing, which is our relationship through Shabbat, is the first thing that he tells us.
Well, it's not the first. We've had hundreds of mitzvahs already
I
being
understand,
told
but
to
now
us.
Now we're there and we're on the edge of actually getting everything.
Well, yeah, we're still 40 years short, but yeah.
But what we're on the edge of getting
Okay.
is the Torah.
Oh, well, technically we already received the 10 Commandments, and now we're in the 40 years post where Moshe is now transcribing and teaching the Jewish people law after law. And we gave out this sheet which had the list of all the different mitzvahs that they learned at the different periods of time. But there's something else that we need to know, and Rashi points this out right here, which is so fundamental. And that is to tell you that every single mitzvah was taught to the Jewish people at Mount Sinai. How do we know? Let me ask you a question, okay? Where does it say that tefillin should be black?
In the oral law.
It doesn't say anywhere in the Torah.
Right.
It doesn't say anywhere in the Torah that the tefillin should be black.
Right.
It doesn't either tell you in the Torah where exactly the tefillin should be placed in your head. In the verse, it says between your eyes. It doesn't tell you that not over here, it's up here at the beginning of your hairline, between your eyes is where it should be. So how do we know that? What's that? Right, so it's where the hairline was. It's where the hairline was. Right? So what the idea is that we can't ever stop remembering that every single mitzvah in the Torah was given to us at Mount Sinai. Even the things that are the oral law that are written later in the Talmud, that was also already given at Mount Sinai. There is nothing that wasn't taught to the Jewish people at Mount Sinai. Even the things that are not going to be relevant to the land of Israel, or till they have a temple, or till certain circumstances come to fruition. Everything was taught to the Jewish people at Mount Sinai. And that's the reason why, specifically, at Mount Sinai, we learn about the laws of the sabbatical year. Yes?
Quick question. I don't understand why that we don't learn specifics in the Torah. And yet, when it comes to sacrifices, everything is explained in the Torah. Why do we have that and not tefillin, and mezuzah, and all these other things that are in the Torah? Why do we have such an elaborate understanding of what sacrifice, where it goes where, when do we do it,
It's an excellent, all right. It's an excellent question. I have an answer, but Scott wants to offer one.
It's specifically that's supposed to be the secrets only for the Jewish people. Only Jewish people receive the oral law. Any nation of the world can pick up and read the written law, but the keys and that's of course becomes the challenge and the problems with groups like the Sadducees and Curated. They took everything that was in the written law literally, but it's specifically was given to us. It's almost like pieces of a code that can only be filled in through the oral law, but that was done on purpose. And why, of course, and so much of us have learned why it's so important to actually study the oral law, because otherwise you don't understand. It's impossible to understand one word.
Yeah, but that's not what I'm aiming. I understand what you're
But
saying.
in asking your question about why it's black and where to go and all those sort of details.
Right, no, why are we
Yeah,
learning, why
okay.
do we get specific instructions on sacrifice?
Okay, so let me ask. So let me tell you something else. Okay, how many years in total did the Jewish people bring offerings?
Not that many.
Not many years.
No, not that many.
Tefillin, you need to put on every single day. Sacrifices you only bring when there's a temple, which was 410 years the first temple, 420 years the second temple, and that's it. It's not even one millennia, right?
Yeah, millennia.
Millennia that, not one millennia that had a temple for offerings.
Sacrifices
So-
explained in the Mishkan, or sacrifices Not the Mishnah.
In the Mishnah? Yeah, definitely. Yeah, because what seems to be so elaborate in the Torah on offerings is not exactly so elaborate. There's still plenty of information that needs to be. It seems like that because there are many different types of offerings for many different types of circumstances, many different types of events. So each one was a different calculation of that. But yes, the mitzvahs that are every single day, because the idea is like this: how do you create a Torah that will live on for all eternity? There's only one secret to it. In fact, very interesting. I've said this in the past many, many times. I just found it in the Chafetz Chaim. The Chafetz Chaim writes, he says, one of the proofs of God is that God gave us a public revelation. It's not hidden. Every religion has a hidden revelation. Oh, someone had some dream, or someone had some prophecy. Tell me who else saw it. No, you're questioning. You're questioning. Throw you off a cliff, right? Well, that's right. No, you're questioning, right? No questions, right? Exactly. In Judaism, it was a public revelation specifically so that you can never, ever, because each one of us were there. Right? It's very hard to contradict the public revelation. And every single word that is written in the Torah needs to be so precise and accurate. Otherwise, you'd have groups of people claiming for all of history, yeah, it's not really true, it's not really accurate. No. Everybody agrees. The Christians agree that the Torah is true, but they don't agree that Islam is. Islam agrees that the Torah is true, but they don't agree that Christianity is. Okay? Nobody has approval of all except for Judaism in the Torah. Why? Because it was a public revelation. And that's irrefutable. Okay? So, there are 24 mitzvahs in this week's Parsha, 7 performative, mitzvot aseh, and 17 prohibitions, mitzvot lo ta'aseh. Okay, so now this week's Parsha, as we've seen previously, the Parsha has a certain theme. Sometimes it's several Parshas that carry the same theme. The theme for this Parsha and the next Parsha is holiness of the land. Now, if you realize, we spoke about holiness of the body. We talked about clean speech, leprosy, garments, purification. That was Tazria and Metzora. Those 2 portions spoke about holiness of the body. The next 2 portions spoke about holiness of the nation. Talked about the holidays. It talked about forbidden relationships. It talked about Shabbos, charity, honesty, love thy neighbor, all of those fundamental principles of being a holy nation. The next portion was the holiness of the priests and the holidays. And then now we have holiness of the land. And each one of these are establishing the holiness of each of these special things. So we have like this. So we have Shemitah. Shemitah's Shabbos of the land. Now I was talking to, I don't remember who I was talking to. It wasn't a Jew. It definitely was not a Jew. And he started questioning me and asking about Judaism, about Shabbos. He started talking, asking all of these beautiful questions. I explained to him that Shabbos is compared to the world to come. It says, Me'ein olam haba, yom Shabbat menucha. Shabbos is like olam haba. But what is these 6 days compared to? The 6 days are compared to this world. You see, you know what happens? So you have Sunday, you take a break, a vacation. You know why? Because I have Monday to worry about what I'm going to do this week. So Monday, we say, oh, you know what? It's okay. I have Tuesday. Tuesday, it's okay. There's still Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Wednesday, Thursday. Friday, it's like, panic mode because we got to get things done before the weekend, right? In our lives, when we're children, we're happy-go-lucky, carefree. Then we get into our 20s, it's time to party a little. Then we get 30s, maybe I should start thinking about settling down, but not yet, but I don't need to get serious about life. And then before you know it, when someone's turning, their 60s, 70s, 80s, you guys don't know you're all in your 20s, right? But, right, so once you're in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, suddenly people are panicking. What's going to be? This 6 days of working, 7 days of break, the seventh day, which is a break, is supposed to remind you every single week that the time of our life is those 6 days. The world to come is Shabbos. And every week, another reminder, there's a cycle here. There's a process of how things work. You can only get work done when you're on this earth. As soon as we're off, you can prepare for Shabbos 6 days. But once Shabbos is in, no more preparation. Whatever's done is done. No cooking, no adjusting lights, no adjusting temperature, nothing. Unless, God forbid, it's a life-threatening situation. But that's it. 6 days of work. 7th day, we rest. Our lifetime is meant to work. Adam la'amal yulad. We're meant to work. But guess what? Once it's done, once that plug is pulled, it's over. There's nothing we can accomplish. To urge us, every week we have this reminder urging us, get stuff done. Get it done. So now we need a bigger reminder. Because let's say we get into that pattern. I'm going to work my field 6 days. Shabbos is holy. Shabbos is, what a great spiritual day, a day of connection. Okay, and then we just get into that pattern. We think like, look at me, I'm a good Jew. Look at me, I'm doing good stuff. And you know what? I'm doing good stuff. Hashem says, no. You think it's all you. I want you to take a whole year off now and demonstrate through that year off that it's me. Yeah, you know what you're going to do that 7th year? Go to the study hall and learn. You're busy all week. All week you're working. Shabbos, you're so tired, you're sleeping and you're spending some time with your kids. You don't have time to learn. When are you going to learn? When are you going to adjust yourself and re-navigate and connect to God on a higher, deeper level? That's what you have the 7th year for. In fact, this year is a sabbatical year in the land of Israel. And this is the first time almost in history that the majority of Israel land is completely Shemitah observant.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow.
It starts on Rosh Hashanah.
The coming
Yeah,
or the
this-
previous?
It started this past. It's active now. We're in it now. And in fact, you go to Israel, most of the fruits that you can buy in the marketplace in Israel are not from Israel this year. Because you can't eat the Shemitah fruits. So they sell that to the Germans and they sell that to other nations. They ship them out, right? Because we can't eat it. Others can.
I thought you could eat it if you picked it from the field.
Right, but the problem is that you have to pay someone to do that. You're not supposed to pay for it. So there's certain ways in which you can do it. Yes, if you stop on the side of the road in Israel and you see a nice juicy watermelon, go take it. It's yours.
Yeah.
And there are signs that say anybody who wants can take whatever you want. Anybody want to go to trip to Israel, get some watermelons? Right?
Oh, best fruit.
It is the freshest.
We're going again for Shavuot.
I'm sorry, what was that?
We were there for Pesach and we're going back for Shavuot.
Beautiful. Enjoy.
So do
Amazing.
they import then?
Yeah, they import fruits for this year because it's so problematic with eating the fruits of the holiness of the land. It's not a simple thing. Let's just leave it like that. It's not a simple thing. I don't want to get into it because it's very intense study to understand all the laws of Shemitah. But it's a beautiful concept. The concept on a superficial level is brilliant. Get a sabbatical, paid for sabbatical. God says, you take a year off, I will cover your loss with a triple crop on the 6th year. The 6th year is actually a story.
So can you eat the fruit from the 6th year?
Yeah, 6 years
The
not a problem.
7th year?
Yeah, no
And the
problem.
8th.
So here's the thing. There was you know that the kibbutz movement is not a very religious one, to say the least. So they're communists. Yeah, and there was a guy, a secular guy, who reads in this week's portion how the Torah says that God says, I'm going to take care of you. Don't worry about it, right? 6th year will be a triple crop. You'll have for the 6th, 7th, and 8th year, and then you'll have this blessing. He says, you know what? Let's try it and let's see. So right at the beginning of the Shemitah year, he decides, that's it. I'm not working the field. I always wasn't planned. Not working the field. That's it. Let's test God. Let's see if God can actually produce. So he let go of his fields, and they just grew wild, and whoever wants can take whatever they want, and that was it. Comes the 8th year, and he tries to plant his unique fruits and vegetables, whatever it is that he was growing, and nothing was growing. And he was only able to grow an inferior quality vegetable. Not inferior quality, but it was inferior. It wasn't like a delicacy. It was just whatever, a cucumber. I don't know what it was. Cabbage, some type of whatever. And he was like, this is what God, that's how God repays me, right? So God repays me. Turns out that there was a country that had a shortage that year of that specific vegetable, and their qualifications of the country, they went out shopping. Who has this? They wanted only from one producer, one supplier. They didn't want to get, we'll get some crates from this country and some crates from that country. They want from one field, grown so it's exactly the same. And this guy's field was the only one that fit, and they paid fortunes of money. Fortunes of money, way more than he would have ever dreamt of making. They said that the people in the kibbutz all put on a kippah. They all put on a kippah, and they were packing the bags. They couldn't pack them fast enough. Hashem makes a promise. I got you covered. He's got you covered, okay?
Rabbi, do you think it's, I've always wondered if it's also not a lesson to teach us to respect the land.
Definitely.
Respect the
Right?
land.
My mother wouldn't talk to me ever again if I littered in the land of Israel. It's the holy land of Israel. What's wrong with you? My mother would not, she can't fathom. It's Eretz Yisrael. It's the land of Israel. It's the holy land. You can't throw your gum out the window. You can't, anything. Yeah, my mother would like, yeah.
That'd be the end of you.
That'd be the end of me. That's a cardinal sin in my family. You don't litter in Israel like that. You don't litter any place, but either way, if you tried to, if you thought about it, you were already. Okay, so.
Robert, quick question.
Sure.
When it comes to the sabbatical year, you said in the story too that the guy went and said, "Let me test Hashem," but I thought that they're only when it comes to tithing.
Right.
Test Hashem.
Well, Hashem gives it as a promise. So I don't know if it was exactly a test or if he was just like, let's see what his promise is worth. The Torah prohibits normal farming of the land of Israel every 7th. One second. The Torah prohibits, every 7th year. God promises to provide a bumper crop prior to the Shemitah and Youll years. And the idea, like we said, is to let go. We love to feel like we're in control. And Hashem wants to remind us every 7 years, let go. I'm here. I got this. Not everything needs to make sense to you. How's that going to work? How, by not working, will you have more productivity? Well, if Hashem says...
We're humans. We're not supposed to know.
Exactly. All right. The next thing we see in this week's Parsha is about the Jubilee year. After every 7th sabbatical year. We have the 50th year. So 7, 14, 21, 28, 35, 42, 49, and 50. So it goes in a cycle of 50 years, every 50 years. So every 7th Shemitah, the 50th year, would be the Jubilee, and it is announced with the sound of the shofar on Yom Kippur. This was also the year for the land to lie fallow, so it'd be another year. And during Yovel, all land is returned to its original division from the time of Joshua, and all Jewish indentured servants are freed, even if they have not completed their 6 years of work. So let's understand this. Number one, all of the property that, by the way, if you buy a home in Israel today,
If you can afford it.
if you can afford it, it is a 99-year lease. You don't own it. It's a 99-year lease. But in the times of the Torah and in times of when the Jewish people lived in the land of Israel as a Torah people, today it's run as a Western government, as a Western country. Sometimes you think it's almost like a communist country, Israel. I love Israel, don't get me wrong, but they're totally communist. Okay, so let's not kid ourselves. I mean, their health insurance system is completely socialist. That is, for sure socialist. The question is communist. Maybe not. At least their desire is to be that. But Israel's a special place, the most special place on earth. Notwithstanding that, if you buy a piece of land, right, after 50 years, it goes back to its original status. What's the original status? Well, when the Jewish people divided up the land, when they entered into the land of Israel, every tribe had their own portion, their own area. So actually, very interestingly, the temple is in the temple in Benjamin. Why?
Because he was the only one who didn't participate in the
That's correct. He was the only one who was not involved in the fighting with Joseph. He was peace. The house of Hashem can only be amongst those who are in peace. So if someone says, oh, I got this beautiful building, let me make a good killing on it, right? The new Waldorf Astoria hotel in Jerusalem. I don't know if you've seen it. It's a magnificent hotel, right? So let me sell it now, make some good money. Guess what? In 50 years, you get it back. It's a 50-year lease. Okay? Up till the Jubilee year. Jubilee year goes back. Okay.
But it didn't go back to that specific family, it goes back to the tribe.
To the tribe.
And
correct.
reallocates.
Correct.
I mean, how do we do that since we have no tribal structure?
Well, that's why we want Mashiach to come. So we'll have the service in the temple again. We'll have all of the, and we won't be here in Houston, Texas, dealing with the Harris County Appraisal District. Okay.
Can't do it.
When is the next Jubilee year? Do you know?
We had the Jubilee year about 10 years ago. So we got some time. I think it was about, and maybe 14 years ago it was. I think maybe it was 14 years ago. Because now it's Shemitah year, so it would be 14. Okay.
Rabbi, I have a question. So
Sure.
you said that for the first time, maybe in history, that most every farmer is letting the land lay fallow, or are they
The
leasing
majority.
it to the Arabs to use?
No. It's laying fallow. Now, you could do certain things to maintain the workers. That's the biggest problem. The problem is not the land. We don't care about the land. What are you gonna do with the workers? The workers are gonna leave, and you're not gonna have workers next time. So right? So they give them like jobs to do stuff like, put the fence here and move the fence there. They give them certain jobs so that you can keep their employment, and so that you don't lose your workers. But yeah, and I have a friend of mine who lives here in Houston that owns property in Israel, farmland in Israel, and there's nothing being produced from this year. You can go there right now. I can send you the address. So you can go see his farms and pick the grapes off the vines and enjoy.
So in Jubilee, he's got to give us 4 years in the 6th year.
Correct. Right. Like the 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th.
Yeah.
Right. 8th Jubilee, 7th Jubilee, and then 9th. Right. Okay. During Yovel. Okay. Oh, so another thing is that if someone stole property or stole money and didn't have money to pay back. So Howard, you had a worker that worked for you, a Jewish guy, a nice Jewish guy. And the Jewish guy stole $100,000 from you. So now what's going to be? You can't pay it back. He's like, I can't pay it back. You know what we do? We take him to court, and the court says, oh, you have nothing to pay? Go work as a slave.
Yeah.
Right? So we sell him as a slave. You get your money back.
After a while.
You get money back, right? But then he goes free at the sabbatical. Sabbatical year comes, all the servants go free. There's best.
Even if he hadn't worked enough to pay off.
Correct.
the amount.
Correct.
Okay.
It's like a hard reset on
Is
all
that in the 7th year or the 50th?
7th year, every 7th year,
Okay.
with 50th year as well.
Yeah.
Okay. So what is the Eved Ivri, the Jewish servant, the indentured servant, may not be given any demeaning, unnecessary, or excessively difficult work. I said, plow the field. Plow that field. Can't do that, Tim. And may not be sold in the public market. What do you mean? I want my money. Give me my money, and I don't care what happens to this Jewish thief who stole from me. No, he has a dignity. You don't send him, take him to the marketplace and sell him.
Is that because of Joseph?
Possible. Yeah, there's a. Okay, what's the price of labor? The price of his labor must be calculated according to the amount of time remaining until he will automatically become free. So we say, hey, he's going to become free in 4 years. You only have 4 years work, right? This is what it's worth. The price of land is similarly calculated. So people calculate it by how much time there is till the Jubilee. Okay, if it's a year before the Jubilee, you're not going to sell it for full price because it's only a 1-year lease.
There's some land that doesn't revert. Whether it's inside of a walled city or outside of a walled city, some houses
That don't get.
that don't revert. Isn't that correct, Rabbi?
Yeah, it's like what we have in America. We have historic markers, right? And then you can't do anything to the house, right? Okay, sale of ancestral land. Should anyone sell an ancestral land, he has the right to redeem it after 2 years. So what happens like this? It's your great-great-great-great-grandparents' house. And now you sold it. You had a crunch in your business. You needed to cash out, liquidate your assets. So you can invest in this Dogecoin or Bitcoin, right? Right? Now you're like, I can't believe, what did I do? How can I have done? You have 2 years to back out. Give him back his money, and you take back your property. Okay? You have 2 years. If a house in a walled city is sold, the right of redemption is limited to the first year after the sale. The Levite cities belong to them forever. Forever. Okay. Interest-free loans and redeem your family. What is this? The Jewish people are forbidden to take advantage of one another by lending or borrowing with interest. We are not allowed to lend money with interest. Okay, it's a biblical prohibition. Now, from another Jew, you can't.
Right.
Right? If you look at the big bankers of the world, they were always Jews. But they were not. They were. Even today, you have someone was just telling me this individual who came to Houston for treatments owns 3 of the largest banks in Panama.
Yeah, like Chase, Morgan, those aren't Jewish names.
Doesn't mean they're not Jewish.
Right. Morgan it's a Jewish name. A good Morgan, right?
Maybe change his name.
What's about the Lehman Brothers? Yeah.
Well, they're Jewish.
Okay. And what's about the what's the other one? The Rothschilds. They're Jewish.
Rothschilds were famously Jewish.
Okay. Safra.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, come on. You got a lot of bankers that are Jewish.
They were.
Maybe Wells Fargo isn't. Okay.
You know, and Bank
I'll
of
give you
America is. It was created by a Chinese guy. Bank of America, out of San Francisco. Nobody else would lend to the Chinese, so he started the Bank of America.
Okay. All right. This is your Jewish history segment for today's class, right?
Given by birth.
Yeah.
I know a bunch of superfluous facts.
That's what the apprehension's coming about the fact that the Jews are all the money in the world. Everything's a conspiracy.
That's right. It's true. You know, it's funny that when they had the elders of Zion, the protocols of the elders of Zion, so they sent the book to the Chinese, and the Chinese didn't respond. So they're like, why aren't you up in arms about this? I mean, the Jews are conspiring to control the world, and they're like, what took you so long to figure that out? Like, of course, like, you know, here's like, wow, it's like a major revelation. Come on, we knew this years ago already. All right.
It's a company, no, it's not.
So here's the thing. So Hillel was a very great man, and he made something called actually it's called a heter iska, which is a business loan. Business loan is different. Because otherwise you're not going to lend someone money if you're not going to make back, right? So what happens is if you loan them the money, you become a partner in the business. And then it's sort of like this document makes you a partner. You have this big problem in Israel. The banks are Israeli owned, Jewish owned, and they're lending money with interest to Jews. So at the entrance of every single bank in the state of Israel, you will see, you walk in and they have this big document in every bank, which says on top, heter iska, business contract. And this is a contract with every person that does business with them, that the interest they're charging is as a business investment they're making in you. If you don't pay, means you're not providing them the returns that you agree upon, upon which they can take it back and foreclose on your home. You understand? So it's a business venture that they're doing together with you. But when the Torah says that you shall not charge an interest, it says Ani Hashem. Verse 38 in chapter 25. It says you should not your money do not give him for interest, and for illegal increase do not give your food. That means you're not allowed to what do they do?
Sharecropping.
No. You can't charge more than a certain percentage you can't make more than a certain percentage of profit. Okay. I'm not talking about price gouging, but also price gouging is prohibited in the Torah. And then the next verse immediately says, Ani Hashem Elokecha, I am Hashem your God. Asher Tzisicha, Asher Tzesi Eschem Eretz Mitzrayim, that has taken you out of the land of Egypt. Loses lochem es Eretz Canaan lios lachem elikim. And I gave you the land of Canaan to be unto you as God. What in the world does that have to do with loaning someone money without interest?
God didn't demand interest from us.
God says, don't worry, you'll never lose out. You think you're losing out by not charging interest. Hashem says, Ani Hashem Elokecha, I am Hashem your God. Don't worry, I'll take care of you. You'll never lose out by doing the right thing. Never. You'll never lose out. And that's why it says, immediately associated with these verses, talking about not charging an interest, Ani Hashem, I got you covered. Don't worry about it. And I'll tell you, there are times that you think, in the business deal, I should have put my foot down. I should have got a bit bigger percentage. I should have this. Don't worry. Hashem has got a big calculator, and he knows exactly how much money you were cheated of. He'll get it to you a different way. Oh, but he took advantage. It's okay. Let him have it. Let him have it. It's okay. It's not worth fighting. It's not worth fighting. Hashem will take care of you. You'll get it from someplace else. Right? Ani Hashem Elokecha. Right there. You say, I'm losing out. I don't know. You're telling me to loan money without interest? I could have made money on the market. I could have. Ani Hashem Elokecha. I got you covered. Don't worry about it. Right? He will repay you your, quote, losses. Family members should redeem any relative who was sold as an indentured servant as a result of impoverishment. It's a family's responsibility to get their family members out. They're having a financial crisis. They're having a difficulty. They have to be sold down the marketplace. You're going to let your family member be sold as a slave? You get the money together. The family's responsibility is to do that and get them, bail them out. Okay. My dear friends, have an amazing Shabbos. It's already Wednesday. It's already Wednesday. Can you imagine? That's it. We got to get work done.
Thank
Have
you,
an
Rabbi
amazing
Wolbe.
Shabbos. Thank you.
Big class.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Mazel tov. Mazel tov, Eliza.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
So exciting. Next Thursday night.
But if you look at the top where they give the score, it only says.
I can't wait.
Exciting. So exciting.
Wait. Thank you. I'm thrilled. Really, really, really thrilled.
Baruch Hashem.
Yes, exactly. Baruch Hashem. Baruch Hashem.
All right.
Thursday.
I'm sorry. What's that, Martha?
What time will it be Thursday?
No. There's something else.
Okay.
Sorry. Yeah.
Friday we have Talmud class at 12 o'clock. And look out for a new class that we're going to soon start in the next couple of weeks. We're going to start a brand new class. I'm very excited about. I can't say yet. I have to. I don't want to bring it I don't want to bring it out because then I'm going to have to. I'm formulating it. It's a new class I've never taught before. Okay, so that's a guarantee. You have to tell me what your schedule is so I can work it around your schedule. All right, have a terrific evening, everybody.
Yeah.
Well, I think you might, I don't know how that works.
Rabbi, can I ask you a quick question?